Well done.
So I think one thing we have been looking at over the past year was just like, clarifying language, that faces the public in terms of like, what do they hear when they get the phone tree or get the phone menu and they call the borough? How easy is it for the public to understand that 911 is the route to reach the police, even if it doesn't feel like it qualifies as an emergency, as long as it's like an ongoing situation or question, that 911 is the preferred number, and we're trying to figure out the language around how we communicate that on the website, in the phone menu, and maybe in other ways too, like through social media or around town, or we're talking to people. That's just an ongoing thing we're trying to improve.
That would be, sounds like a good idea, though, to get a plan in place, so
Yes.
calls are not unburdened and the right calls go to the right place at the right time.
Yeah. I guess my question would be if there's like a problem with doing this switch between day hours and after hours. Like, does somebody have to remember to do that every day, or is it on a timer, or like?
I think it's set on time of the day, but it's only on one line. That would be issue right into. They can switch the voicemail, they just can't switch where the call gets routed.
Right, okay. All right, so maybe we'll kind of just table this for the moment and come back to it. I think we're meeting again in March if we want to come back to that. Did you have anything else to update us on?
No, that's at this time.
Dana, did you want to?
Yes, please. Thank you. Sorry I couldn't get the TVs to work. But I do want to let everybody know that Kathy, iPhone, Sam 16, and Region have joined.
Okay.
Just so there are 3 people in.
Thank you for doing double duty
Yes.
and monitoring the tech.
Doing my best. January has been quite a start. And I thought it was appropriate just to prepare a couple of notes. I won't read through them, just to address the public and address folks about a very hot topic that we're going to discuss next, I think. I want to begin by acknowledging that there are a lot of things going on in the public related to immigration control and enforcement. And, that has sent a number of individuals in different directions, and they have expressed to me that there is fear, and they've expressed to other people at Borough Council that there is fear and uncertainty about what would we do, what would happen, what does this mean? And so we put together, with the help of our solicitor and subject matter experts, a resolution that will be voted on tomorrow. And so I'm really happy that we're here to next look at it. But I wanted to open it with just a couple of extra things here. So number one, it does not change our commitment to public safety. Got a great working relationship with John over the last months. We've been working together, and I'm very happy that we're in support of this. Number two, it doesn't put us above the law. And, we're still going to work with valid judicial warrants and court orders, like as we should. But it addresses a couple of things. Number one, trust in the community. We're getting a lot of questions. What does this mean? What would you do? Did this happen in Phoenixville? Did this happen here or there? And I do want to just let everybody know that there are no confirmed reports of ICE activity in Narberth as of me leaving my home at 6:30. So, there are some things that went around the neighborhood, but those are not confirmed. So nothing confirmed in the area. And I think by putting this out there so that everybody knows what we will and won't do, you'll know that community policing is intact, and we have full trust and faith in our department. Number two, I think it puts clarity out there. There are a lot of misconceptions about what ICE can and can't do, what we can and can't do. And, with respect to that, it's going to be very clear that we are here for public safety. And then I think finally, that constitutional rights matter. That's something that's very important to me, and I know it's very important to the whole community. Our offices are here to ensure that every resident can exercise their First Amendment rights. And, we'll maintain order for the whole community. And that's what's something is really important to me that everybody realizes it's for the whole community. Those aren't politics. Those are just practical pieces to the resolution. I'm sure everybody's had a chance to read it, but I wanted to open with that. And, I really appreciate the care and vigilance that John and his team have had with the community. And, this is our commitment from Borough Council and myself to say that we're going to continue that. And we're going to keep everything related to the constitutional rights as solid as we can. And this is our sort of method of relaying to the public what we intend. So, as with anything, if something goes wrong and, if you're watching this and you're hearing this and something goes wrong, just remember to call 911. That should be your first, action. So I will leave it at that. And, I think we're going to do our very best to help Narberth, the residents and the people who visit. So thank you.
And welcome to, the mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And tech guy.
Of course, one of the main roles of mayor for anyone in the borough who needs an update is overseeing the police department. So you're kind of in a critical role here, and that's why we like having to come to these meetings. Is there anything else non-ICE related you wanted to touch on, or?
I think for a matter of the mix of police and public safety, I will just say that I'm very happy with the way the public responded to moving their cars. We didn't have to give out as many tickets. This time around, I think everybody did everything they could for what was it, 1.5 feet or 2 feet of snow, some very large amount with exceedingly cold weather afterwards. So very happy with the way the community came together around that. Lessons learned, we're going to take those in about what we can and can't do. But I think for the first month, having those two things come in, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique situation weather-wise. Where, the combination of the amount of snow and then the temperatures. So it's been challenging.
And we in future meetings, we will have more to discuss. But in this one, those two topics are probably good for now. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, and if anyone in the audience is just curious what our order of business is, our action items are mainly to talk about the proposed resolution and then I wanted to briefly go over the PAC charge, and then community comment is kind of at the end of the meeting. So if you're here for community comment. Okay. The proposed resolution, I distributed a draft copy. I think you got that. What I've been told is that the borough solicitor has also reviewed it. And I took the opportunity to compare it to the one recently passed by Haverford Township and Radnor. And what I noticed is that it's basically identical to the Haverford one, except it adds 2 paragraphs. The paragraph beginning, whereas it would frustrate the criminal justice system, and whereas due to the limited resources in Narberth Borough Police Department, those
are the two
were adds. Yeah. Anyway, I think what Borough Council, who is voting on this tomorrow, just wanted from us was a statement. If we wanted to offer a statement or anything.
If I could,
Yeah.
and I don't know, because it's supposed to be our part to work with the police. I'm sure, Chief, you've had a chance to read the resolution.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything in the resolution that you've read that you feel as though it restricts or hampers what the Narberth police need to do in enforcing the law?
Not at all.
So you're comfortable with the resolution as it is written?
I am, yes, sir.
Okay. And I noticed I noted as well, because I was doing the same thing. I checked the Haverford's resolution and then the Lower Merion website. And I don't know that they have an ordinance or resolution yet. I had trouble. I don't think they got the greatest website despite all their money, but that's my thought. Be that as it may, there was some ICE enforcement in Lower Merion Township a few days ago.
On the 30th, yes, sir.
And there was a notice from Lower Merion Police Department and how they might address an ICE-related issue. Are you familiar with what Lower Merion Police had to say?
Yes, I did read it.
Okay. And I'm curious, how would, we see these things where supposed ICE agents, and that's part of the problem. I think it's not as clear as we'd like it to be, but supposed ICE agents are taking action and you as a citizen see it. What can you do from the perspective of trying to find out, is this something that's legitimately going on? I'm not talking about injecting yourself or tackling people, but how do we find out isn't somebody else just grabbing a nice shirt and taking action? How would you recommend the borough residents go about addressing that?
I would like to start just by saying that we have no known instance of false ICE agents or people impersonating federal agents. So just so we don't rise any concern that is unnecessary, we're not aware of any of those. However, the best action for a resident to take if they have a concern is to call 911. The sooner that we can get there, make contact and figure out what's going on, the better.
Right. Which is the approach that Lord Marion recommends as well.
Yes.
That was really all that I had in terms of any questions about this.
Yeah, I did see the LMPD statement that they put out, but I think you're correct that Lower Merion Township has not passed a similar resolution. But it should be pointed out that Lower Merion Township does not have is not participating in the 287G program. So, and in a way, this resolution is also just confirming that we do not participate in that. So it's sort of saying like, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing, which is not participating in that participation program that some municipalities have.
And if I could add that one of the big purposes was to provide that clarity.
Right.
So that everybody knew our stance and knew what we intended to do.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the way you could say this isn't changing anything. It's kind of clarifying or making a statement around what is already sort of a non-participation policy. John?
That was my first question.
Yeah.
Does this change anything? In other words, is it just reinforcing what is already the status quo, or is it making some sort of change in our policies and procedures in the police department?
Do you want to start, John?
Sure. Thank you. There is no change in our procedure. So there are no agencies in Montgomery County that are participating in the 287G program. Recently, there was one, I think Bucks County, and they elected to step away from it. As far as the other condition there with the administrative warrants, Montgomery County Correctional Facility will not accept anybody. So even, there's no way for that to even happen. So to your point, this is just reaffirming the things that already exist, that, we are not participating with any sort of administrative warrants, and we are not going to engage, in a MOU under the 287.
If an individual is, if there's a warrant, an administrative warrant out for them that and Narberth Police encounters them either through an arrest or a car stop, does the Narberth Police check for the existence of any type of immigration warrant that may exist for any person that you come into contact with?
So what we do as municipal police officers is check a database at NCIC. So we're going to be checking for any warrants that get entered. We have no control over the entry of data into there. So if immigration or another agency elects to put information in, we will be notified of it. So it isn't a proactive check that we're taking. It isn't that check that we're looking for warrants from homicides to even pay your parking tickets, and sometimes things fall in the middle. As far as getting those, If it's administrative violation or administrative warrant, whatever we're calling it, we're not gonna take any action because we can't. If it is an instance where we have a warrant because, someone's committed a felony and there's other things all attached to it, it doesn't negate the felony warrant.
If there's an immigration detainer, whatever the term of art is, that's out on a person that the police come into contact with. Again, would there be any databases that the Narberth police would access as part of their routine business that would reveal the existence of some type of detainer order or some other immigration enforcement, either warrant or whatever the name is?
All we're looking through is, and actually process. NCIC is the national database. Philadelphia has their own. It's the same principle. Philly likes to be independent. So we'll check for Philadelphia warrants, but again, those are criminal warrants.
Good question. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, I did one more.
Yeah.
Again, Chief, has there ever been any interaction between the Narberth Police and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to your knowledge, in the last 10 years?
Definitely not the last 3 years that I've been here, and I'm not aware of anything before my time.
Okay. How about in your prior life, when you were at Lower Merion, was there any, interaction between Customs Enforcement and the Lower Merion Police?
The only thing that would give me pause in saying that is post 9/11, there were a lot of, through NCIC, we got a lot of warnings and flags. And I'll be completely honest with you, half the things we didn't know, and there was a phone number to call. So there was some, federal contact with stuff like that, but not to the degree of what the 287 program would be, where we're going out and looking for people's, status or anything like that. No immigration enforcement.
Have any of the immigration enforcement agencies contacted the Narberth Police Department about anything in the last 3 years, either about enforcement activity or request for cooperation anyway?
No.
That's it. That's all the question. Thank you.
So,
I don't know if I can raise a point of order or, I see the community comment is after all those. I didn't know if you wanted to ask for comment while it was fresh.
we could move it up because I assume some people are here for that issue. So yeah, I mean, generally it goes at the end, but today we can move it up if that makes more sense. Since we
Yeah.
maybe want to provide a
does-
statement to.
It does seem like at most borough meetings, public comment is at the beginning before you even have some of these discussions. I know this makes it a little more complicated, but I think it's good to kind of hear from the public once they've had some discussions. So I think it's a good thing to do right now.
Yeah, let's bump it up. So we'd like to open the floor to the community, and if you'd like to speak, raise your hand and say your name and address. Anybody in the public? Yes.
John Constantine, 400 North Market. On this particular topic, I think you're wasting my taxpayer dollars by going to solicitor and doing all this resolution stuff. If nothing's going to change from what's protocol today.
Mhm.
You can simply put a statement out in a newsletter. We follow what the law provides for today, and rushing this through without having anybody read it is inappropriate. I mean, you're gonna vote on it tomorrow, but I just became known of it today. Okay, I think you should be spending your time looking at other areas where you can improve the force, like internal policies on wearing body cameras. And that would, facilitate these wrongdoings of people. I don't condone what happened in Minnesota. It's the cover-up part of it that's the problem, right? Cover-ups can happen everywhere, even in small towns. That's what I don't like. The mental health of our community and our officers should be of the utmost priority. And to make believe that there are no issues here is a fallacy. I'm looking to you, Mr. Mayor, someone new coming in here who's gonna change course. You know, instead of get rid of this laissez-faire stuff. I know you're making an action, but I don't think this is the appropriate action to be taken. I think you need to holistically get involved, touch base with people. The previous mayor did note that there were going to be listening sessions, which they never happened for the general public, where they could come in and talk to you about things. To get a resolution in a, you know, a discussion manner. You know, without, you know, there's a lot of things that are wrong in small town that should be corrected. But this, it seems like the chief noted that we're appropriately following the law. So we don't need to do this resolution. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mr. Constantine. Yeah, I think we take your
Very
opinion.
expensive.
I will say this, I'm brand new to this committee, so, and our job is, our task is to be able to improve community relations to the extent there are problems between police and the public. So to my knowledge, yeah, I don't know what complaints have been made. But I think that if there are complaints that you feel need to be made, I think it's appropriate you make them. I think if you want to, for example, say, we need to get body cameras, or we need something else, things that we can then discuss and think about as things to improve, or maybe we could disagree with your conclusions. But I think that's a totally good idea. I just think, I don't know about what complaints, and that's part of what I'd like to hear. So if there are some, Mr. Constantine, I think it's great that you would bring them to the fore, whether it's by email, whether it's by letter, whatever it is, and I'll make sure that if it's coming to this committee, that we'll talk about it.
I appreciate that.
Just to clarify, this committee is not voting on this resolution. This is a resolution for Borough Council. Borough Council simply asked us for input, and this is how we're accomplishing that.
That's legitimate for them to receive it from somebody, right?
Understood. But
Instead of they created it themselves via the solicitor. I mean, I don't think it's appropriate for council members to be giving out whistles. I would ask the chief if he recommends that, you know, if that's an appropriate procedure for the public to be, you know, fighting the ICE issue by blowing whistles. You should be discussing with, you know, asking the chief to talk to ICE to get to find out why the person is really here. You know, not say hands off, and, you know, you should have a discussion with them. Don't be combative with them. If you see them, then the chief should immediately talk to them. If they're organizing somewhere, why are you guys here? You know, show me the specific warrant that you're, you know, not that you're randomly searching people.
I want to acknowledge that you and I should have a conversation, so it's on record now, and I'll hold to that, okay?
And Mr. Constantine, I know you've come to some meetings before, and you did give us the idea to have an anonymous like question box or comment box on the new website when they redesign their website. And I do want to check. I feel like there were some glitches with it when it was first implemented. But I do want to check that that's there and that's working, because we, in addition to trying to solicit feedback from people in the community through face-to-face interactions or, you know, or listening sessions or surveys, we did want to have like an anonymous way to provide, you know, give a complaint or a suggestion. And so we did put that into the new website, and I'm gonna check on that, whether it's working and whether people can find it. Because I think that's, I've been involved with some like website design in the past, and I know making sure things are findable and that people can navigate to them and they see it is always a big thing. So I will follow up on that also. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak, from the audience?
If you're online, just raise your hand or unmute yourself and we'll give you the floor. No activity.
Don't get me wrong, I appreciate all of you being there. It's important to have a body where some people can come to discuss issues.
Don't be hesitant or reluctant about speaking up. There's nothing wrong with that.
Katie, there's nobody.
Okay. So if we are to give a statement to our council, what would it roughly be? I'll have to word something and email it to them.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would be appropriate for us to give a statement one way or the other, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think our role is really not, again, we can solicit input, which we've done. We've asked questions of the chief who's provided us with information. We can pass that on. I don't think it's appropriate for us. We're not elected officials I know, Mayor, with all due respect, you said it's not political, but in reality, it's a resolution on a political topic. And we've elected you and we've elected our borough council members to make political choices and make political statements. And this is essentially reaffirming that which already exists. And so my interpretation of that, this is a political statement by the borough, by borough council on a very important issue that's going on in America right now. But we're not elected. Nobody voted for me to be on this commission. And so what I think about it is really not really relevant. I certainly support everything that the council and you are doing and the chief on these subjects. My position would be we can report back the input we've received from the public and the chief, but I don't think it's appropriate for us to give a public statement one way or the other on this resolution. This is up to borough council, and that's my position. So.
Okay, so your inclination is to say nothing or say something very neutral.
It's not even saying-
Or just to state that we're neutral.
My position is that we report to council the input we receive from the public and the chief on the resolution.
Okay,
And if, Mayor, you can address council, I think if you want, we can include your comments as well. But that would be my position as opposed to us voting on some sort of formal statement that we would report to borough council on.
okay,
Because that would essentially be our opinion as to this.
That's the expectation.
well, we have advised on policy issues, but it sounds like what you're saying is you don't see this as like a policy statement, but more of a political.
I do, it's a risk, because we're not changing anything. The law, the practices and procedures in the police department are not changing as a result of this resolution. This is a statement. You're making a political statement about a very important topic. Again, I'm not, which I support, I have personally, but I'm not elected. Nobody, so what I personally think, I don't think is relevant. If they council wants us to solicit actual data and more information, we can certainly do that and give them, for example, we're not frustrate the criminal justice system and safety and security of the citizens. Well, really to give an opinion about that, we would have to look at more data and hear from the experts in that field in order to be able to give an opinion that's informed about whether this resolution actually impacts public safety or not. It sounds like the mayor, you've received that input, or at least talked to experts, but I haven't. And so to just give my opinion without that data, to me, it's just not appropriate, but that's just my personal position.
Okay,
I think one thing we don't want to downplay too much is with community policing and public safety, it's very important to make sure that people know what is there, what they can do, those sorts of things. And this is one of those communication vehicles. Just like how there was a 911 campaign at one point. This is along those lines. It'll have value for the community in that sense.
as a point of sort of clarity and communication.
Correct. Different people will understand administrative warrants or judicial warrants, Are ICE the police? Are they this? Are they that? You know, and this is, the intent is clarify. We've gotten a lot of questions along those lines. I think the document does that.
I think that, what might be lacking is sort of that conclusion, that I read in the Lord Marion Police Directive today, because to me, the big question is, okay, we're not going to cooperate. I agree. But what do you do? And I think it's important for people to know what you can do that's a positive thing to determine, is this something that's legitimate? And also for the public safety, because if you're making that 911 call and it's either going to be the Narberth Police or Lord Marion backing up or whatever, and they're going to come there and they're going to see these guys are ICE agents, back off, they're doing their job, and that's just the way it is. That's probably, from a safety perspective, the best thing that can happen. Doesn't mean people can't shout and holler and complain, you know, within bounds that we all know there are. But I think, to me, you don't want these situations to escalate. And knowing where you can go and how you can go to get some kind of, you know, when your local police are able to be there and they're there and they're saying, hey, okay, then that kind of gives you a sense of, okay, you know, not that's great, not that it's ideal, but at least this is where things stand. And I think that's something that, you know, could even be added, quite frankly, in this memo. But I do think, you know, we were asked to review it. I don't know that, I didn't see a specific directive from council as to what do they want from us to review this and decide, is this good or is this bad? I think Mr. Gonzalez raised some good questions. Well, it's hard for us to know all of that without getting some additional information. I think that we've heard from the chief. It doesn't really change anything. It does make it clear to the public, we're not, the borough, if it's adopted, the borough is not joining with ICE to do anything that ICE is doing that they don't like. So that's a good thing. It does provide that clarity, I think, but sorry about that.
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, there's also probably gonna be community comment at tomorrow's meeting at Borough Council. So I think Borough Council maybe just saw this as another forum for people to come and talk about it. And it's been helpful for me just in terms of kind of understanding what this does and doesn't do. And I take your point about like the LMPD statement being more oriented towards like the practical, like here's what you can and can't do as a member of the public or a member of the community, or who can you call or when should you call. But that might be more appropriate as like a separate statement. I don't know if NPD wants to put something out like that, or if Borough Council wants to put out something like that, but I can see why it's not in here, because they really just wanted to make this about the borough's non-participation, and not have it also be like a practical guide for citizens. That might be a separate document or statement. But we could suggest that might be useful if we want to give Borough Council some feedback. Should we do that or add that?
Well, they're voting on this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much, I mean, we're really expecting much, and if they wanted some statement within hours of the commission meeting and the committee meeting, and then they're gonna vote on it tomorrow, so,
Right.
I mean,
I mean, I
I'm
think,
happy to provide that, I mean, we could do that, I mean, we could provide, you know,
yeah,
comments, but again, I don't know. It was unclear to me exactly what they wanted us to do, whether they wanted us to vote about something, or there was a specific request. Other than we've allowed the public to make comments, we've solicited information. But
right.
we could provide, I mean, if you're asking, you know, do we want to formally provide them with advice that they should do something else, you know, something additional, along the lines that Dennis talked about, I mean, I would be fine with doing that in a form of a letter or an email or some written memorandum. But I wouldn't really go beyond that. That would be my thought, I guess.
Okay, did we just maybe summarize what our discussion was and what we heard from the public?
I'm
Then,
fine with
and
that.
just kind of give them that summary then and not without giving an opinion or like we just.
I feel comfortable doing that, yes, but
Okay.
that, again, whatever.
It's fine by me.
Thanks.
Okay. And we can either do that in writing or one of us could always show up at tomorrow's meeting and just give our version of, so I don't know if anyone feels like attending another meeting this week or if we just want to write it up. I know you've been doing some minutes, so you.
Yeah, well,
You could even just give them half of the minutes.
Tonight, I'll prepare something and then I'll share it with the committee and then forward it to the borough manager.
Okay,
How's that?
yeah. Dennis, do you
I'm fine with that.
agree?
100%.
Okay. All right, great. Yeah, I think in some ways it worked out because of the calendar timing that we just happened to be meeting this week. And they happen to be meeting tomorrow. And so they're like, oh, we'll give you the draft resolution. Because if we hadn't been meeting until next Tuesday or something, we probably wouldn't. Okay, I guess, is it okay to move on to the next?
There's no more public comment, right?
Okay. So what I also put on here was, and maybe I should have, I don't know if I distributed this to everybody. The Police Advisory Committee charge was like revised and rewritten last year from its original wording, which I think was in 2022. And I just wasn't I couldn't find it on the website. So I'm gonna ask somebody in the borough office to make sure that the new charge is, because right now all they have there is the original charge that kind of established the committee. But I think that there were some useful clarifications or changes. I mean, one of our tasks is to do some kind of community facing contact or community outreach to try to like make sure people are aware of us, people are aware of the ways that they can contact us or the mayor or the police around any concerns they have around public safety or around the Norwood Police Department. So maybe at our next meeting when Kate's here, we can get a little bit more into the weeds of like, what do you want to plan in 2026 to be, and I'll quote, to serve as a conduit for community concerns, ensuring that residents feel heard. So that is something I just kind of wanted to raise at this first meeting, that we do have a newish wording for our charge for a committee, and I'll try to get that onto the website. And then we can set some goals around that. But it'd be great to do that when Kate's here, and I think we do have another meeting on the schedule in March, so we could do that. And then just moving on from that, do you guys have any questions or?
I would motion to adjourn.
Yes, because we kind of have already dealt with the other things about around the FAQ, the clarity around 911 and contacting the police. We've kind of already talked about that on chief string. So would anyone like to move to adjourn, or is there just
We need a second. I made the move.
one addendum? You already made the move?
Seconded.
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor, we adjourn this meeting. I believe our next one is. I think it's March 25th.